In the dry heart of South Africa, where the sun burns through the clouds and the land cracks beneath its heat, an old elephant named Kumo walked alone. The rains had not come for many months. The grass had turned brown and stiff, and only a few shallow puddles still shone faintly in the dust. Kumo had lived through many seasons, but this one was harder than any before. His right forefoot was swollen and sore, poisoned by a deep abscess that made every step a battle. Each day the pain grew sharper. He could not walk far, he could not search for food, and he could not drink as much as he needed. He began to fall behind his herd, his family drifting farther away across the plains until they were only echoes in the wind. Alone now, he stood by a drying pool, lowering his head to sip what little water remained. His great ears drooped low. His eyes were clouded with exhaustion and loneliness. As the wind pushed over the open land, carrying the scent of dust and old grass, a small black bird landed near his foot. It was an oxpecker, one of the tiny helpers of the savannah. The bird tilted its head, studying the swelling on Kumo's leg. It stepped closer, cautious but brave. Kumo did not move. He was too weak to care. But the bird saw his suffering and decided to act. With one sharp peck of its hooked beak, the tight skin broke open, and thick yellow fluid poured out into the dirt. Kumo flinched, letting out a low rumble of surprise. Then he felt something else. Relief. The crushing pressure inside his foot began to ease. The little bird worked carefully, pecking a few more times to clean the wound. When it was done, Kumo lifted his trunk, as if to say thank you. The bird chirped once, soft and sweet, and flew away. That night, for the first time in many days, Kumo slept deeply. He believed the pain might be over, but the infection ran deeper than he knew. Within days, the swelling returned. It grew hotter, redder, and the smell of rot filled the air. The wound oozed again, and flies gathered in thick clouds. Kumo tried to rise, but his leg trembled and gave way. He collapsed beside the puddle, his huge body shaking with pain. The water was almost gone now, only a smear of mud at the bottom. The old elephant lay there for hours, his chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. He was close to giving up, but far away, help was already on its way. That morning, two park rangers, Jack Turner and Ben Carter, were driving across Ado Elephant Park to check the last of the waterholes. They had spent years protecting these lands and knew every corner of it. Both men loved the elephants as if they were family. When they spotted the gray shape lying still by the water's edge, their hearts tightened. They drove closer, and what they saw broke them. "It's a bull," Jack whispered. "He's in bad shape." They stepped from the truck, moving slowly, speaking softly. The elephant's eyes followed them weakly. Perhaps he sensed they meant no harm. Jack knelt beside his trunk and placed a gentle hand on it. The skin was dry and warm. "Hang in there, big guy," he said quietly. Ben called over the radio for emergency support, his voice steady but urgent. The rescue team was on its way, but time was short. The men poured clean water into Kumo's trunk, and he drank greedily, as if remembering life itself. When the rescue truck finally arrived, the team worked together without a word. They used strong tarps and thick ropes, guiding the elephant carefully onto the transport rig. The moment was tense. One wrong move could hurt him further, but Kumo did not fight. Somehow, he trusted them. Perhaps he knew these humans were his last hope. The journey back to the ranger station was long. Ben sat beside Kumo's head, watching every breath, whispering small words of comfort. Jack drove ahead, glancing at the mirrors again and again, as though willing the old elephant to hold on. At the station, the veterinarian was waiting. The examination was slow and careful. The infection was deep, but it had not reached the bone. A small miracle. The team cleaned the wound, removing the dead tissue, washing it again and again with clean water. Then they wrapped it with fresh white bandages and gave Kumo medicine to ease the pain. For the first time in weeks, the great bull could rest without agony. They placed him under a wide shelter, laying thick straw beneath his feet and shade above his head. Buckets of water and hay were set nearby. The rangers stayed late into the night, checking his breathing, changing his dressings, and watching over him like old friends. Days passed. Slowly, the fever faded. The swelling went down. Kumo began to eat again. His eyes grew brighter, and each morning he lifted his trunk when Jack or Ben entered the yard, a quiet sign of recognition. On the third day, he tried to stand. He stumbled once, then again, but finally managed to stay upright. The men smiled. It was a sight they would never forget. 1 week later, Kumo could walk around the yard without limping. His wound was closing fast. The vets added fruits and vegetables to his meals to help him grow strong again. Each morning, Ben would lead him out into the sunlight, spraying cool water over his back. The old elephant would rumble with delight, flapping his ears as the droplets sparkled like tiny stars on his skin. The hair on his ears began to shine again, his body filled out, and his spirit returned. After a full month of healing, the vet gave the words everyone had waited for. "He's ready." Jack and Ben prepared the transport truck one last time. As Kumo walked up the ramp, he turned his head toward them and gave a deep, rolling rumble. The sound was low, grateful, and full of life. When they reached the open plains, the men lowered the gate. Warm sunlight poured over the land. Kumo stepped out slowly, feeling the soft earth beneath his healed foot. He raised his trunk high, breathing in the wild air he had missed so much. For a moment, he stood still. Then he rumbled, a sound that echoed across the plains like a song of freedom. He turned once toward Jack and Ben. It was his way of saying thank you. The rangers watched him go, their eyes shining. They had seen many rescues, but none as moving as this. For them, this was not just the saving of one life. It was proof that kindness could bridge the space between species. As Kumo disappeared into the distance, a flock of small black birds wheeled above him, as if guiding him home. And then, out of the golden haze came the shapes of other elephants, the herd he had lost so long ago. He paused. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, he hurried toward them, the air filled with deep calls and gentle trumpets as the family welcomed him back. The old bull was no longer alone. Jack and Ben stood watching until the sun began to fall. The sky turned orange and pink, painting the land in peace. That night, the story of Kumo and the little bird would spread across the campfires of Addo Park. People would tell it again and again, a tale of pain, healing, and trust. A reminder that in the heart of the wild, kindness still lives. Dear friend, thank you for taking the time to follow this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.